A lot of people are finding themselves in a situation where they're like, I want to impact the world for the greater good. And it sounds like you had that moment of like, yes, this is something I want to do, but you didn't know how yet. And I think that there's almost like an obsession right now that we have to know the wow, the
Yeah.
how, and then you just find yourself stuck looking at the different hows. But it seems like you had a bit of a surrendering, or at least you went into a lot of different directions. And I kind of wanted to unpack that a little bit because
Yeah.
people are coming to you for coaching, but I'm seeing people doing it completely different, which is they get a certification, but they don't have people coming to them. They're going to others saying, please, please, can I coach you? And it seems like the energy is completely upside down. So, how did that happen?
Well, it's really interesting because since I had that accident, every morning that would be my prayer. So I would literally say, God, universe, I am here to enlighten more than 500 million people. Show me how. That was my prayer. And I was like, not searching for it. I was like, I was, Christian from background, and I was like, God will show me the way. That was like my total belief system. Right. And having a near death experience and being on the other side, you're like much more surrendering than I think normal people. Let's put it this way. And so for me, I just would look who came my way. Right. And so I remember, I was giving advice already to people. And then somebody said, like, I really would love you to see you regularly, And really how that happened was very interesting. Um, I was working for the government, and every morning I would go earlier in than all my colleagues, and I would go and stand in front of each person's office and I would do a blessing. I was doing a prayer. Like, I knew they were not always so positive people, but I would just send some energy towards them. And it's actually the one of the people that was working early in the office, and she was the coffee lady. I mean, she would go around with the coffee. And she's like, after a while, she's like, Marie, what are you doing? And I said, like, well, I'm blessing everybody, right? And she's like, oh, do you do something special? I said, well, I meditate and I send positive vibes out to everyone so they would get better along and so on. And she's like, oh, I have my sister-in-law and she's really, really in a bad situation. Could you have a conversation with her? So she was my first client, right? And I did that for free because I was like, yeah, of course, I'll take some, an hour off my time. And then she was so happy with it. She sent all her family members. And this is how I got into the field of coaching by just being myself. To be honest, I had even no idea that was called coaching, right? I just called it, I was doing some energy work, right? I had no idea what that it meant. And I started doing that in the weekends. And before I knew it, and then, I started really getting that I needed to ask some money for it. I took a 4/5 job. So that means on Friday I was off. So Friday and Saturday and Sunday, I was start doing these personal sessions. But like, I had no idea others were doing that. I was just doing like following through on my own, I don't know, my own energy.
Oh my God. So I really wanted to expand that. So I'm so grateful you share that because there seems to be that part of the story that a lot of times we don't realize how impactful it was, where it's like it came to you, that you didn't force it. There was
No.
some referrals that happened, which put you on the indication that, oh my God, the people are loving this and there's more people coming my way. And you mentioned at 27 years old, that's when it really turned into a business. So I'd be curious to know, and since you're on a selling with love, do you
Yeah,
remember the first person you asked to pay money for this and what
I,
was
I
going through your
do.
mind?
I do. It was really funny because I would say at a time, just give me whatever you feel is right. Yeah. And so people would give me, I mean, this was in Belgium. So it was in Belgian francs, right? So it was like 20 Belgian francs, 50 Belgian francs, what it would be now like $1 to $2, to be honest. Right? It's very cheap, right? And then I would always say, give whatever you feel is right. And I thought like, oh, this is cool, right? I got well paid as a lawyer, by the way, right? So I didn't need that too much extra. And so one day a woman came to me and she had a kilo of coffee beans to give to me. Now I'm allergic to coffee. So I got his coffee beans and I became so pissed off. And I'm like, Oh my God, I can't even do anything with that. I have to give it to my husband to make his coffee. And then I was like, okay. And I said to her, this is the last time. I don't want to see you anymore. If you want to come back, you pay 50 Belgian francs to see me, who is literally $2.50 right now, inflation and so on, right? And she was like, oh, okay. And I set my boundaries, literally, right? So she came back and then she said like, oh, you know what? I really love it so much. Let me give you and pay you up front for 3 sessions. And she paid me 150 Belgian francs, right? Now would be like 150 euros probably. And I was like, oh, I can ask more. I mean, I had no idea what the rates were, what the prices were. I was just suddenly like so pissed off I didn't get anything paid. That I really became an entrepreneur at that moment. And I still remember her because she's still one of my friends until today.
Me and you have a very different relationship with coffee. If somebody would pay me with a kilo of coffee beans, I would be
You'll
like,
be
you
like,
get all
yay!
my bonuses. But this is so amazing because there's so much fear and resistance when it comes to asking for money, and then it's very difficult. A lot of people I've spoken to, and I'm seeing this in your pattern as well. A lot of the stuff you started doing for free, and that allowed you to kind of refine your craft, get the experience, and then it's almost like the client was like, "Oh my God, I need to give you money," after you've made the decision to set the
Yeah,
boundaries, and that's also something I just want to highlight because so many times there's two sides that I see in people getting into this field. One is you do a bunch of work for free, but you can never get out of getting anybody to make a payment. And in your case, it's when you set the boundary, the universe responded. And I find that
correct.
amazing. Thank you so much for listening to the Selling with Love podcast. We have some previous episodes you can tune into right here. And if you prefer the short form content where you get to the point in under 10 minutes, we do have a ton of clips from our best episodes that are being shared on this channel as well. So pick which one supports you the most. And of course, thank you for liking, subscribing, and of course, selling with love.